Hey guys, welcome back to the Witchcraft Cycle Workshop. Today, I want to talk about choppers. Everybody likes to talk about choppers. I see discussions on different Facebook forums all the time, guys talking about how to make a chopper. And when I say chopper, we're talking about changing the angle, stretching out the front forks. And obviously, if you're going to do something like this, you're going to have to cut and re-weld and do some frame modifications. And that can be kind of daunting. Not everybody wants to cut up their frame. So it seems like inevitably on these forums, when people start talking about maybe putting a little rake into the front of their bike, somebody always says, well, just put raked triple trees to rake it out. And I tell people that's not always a good idea. It can be dangerous to put raked triple trees on a stock neck. And there's plenty of information out there on the internet, other videos, there's some really good books, and most of it it's very technical. And a lot of it is just drawings and theoretical design. Today I thought we'd go into a little simpler, just the basics of it, and do it in a practical purpose on a real world bike. We have one over here we're getting ready to chop and rake out, and I thought I'd do a little demonstration and show you what happens when you put rake trees on a stock neck. So let's take a look. All right, so if you're going to dig into what goes on in a chopper and the design characteristics, if you read some of the books, some of the other YouTube channels, you will see diagrams and how the rake and the trail all work together in a theoretical manner that doesn't always relate to real world applications. And I'm just going to make this a little simpler maybe. I think you should still check into, those others and, get some more information, but let's just simplify it a little. When we're talking rake, we're talking the angle of the front forks. And the neck angle on this 89 Softail Custom on the book is 30 degrees. So let's just take our little angle gauge and see here. Well, that says 33 degrees. Well, why is that? If the book says 30. Well, our table's level, our bike's sitting on it, but where's our bike at? We're at about 3 degrees uphill from level. So if you were just going by theoretical blueprint design, they're counting on the lower part of the frame being level in relation to the front forks. Now, how does all this work together? What are we talking about when we say raked triple trees? These are your triple trees, the clamps that hold the two fork tubes, and then the bearing stem that goes through the neck. Most bikes, there is no rake built into it. This angle is the same as the neck. You can get raked triple trees that actually put more angle, 3 degrees, 5 degrees, 7 degrees more angle without cutting and raking the neck angle of the frame. The other thing is trail, and how does all this relate? So, this is our pivot point, comes down. Let's just take this rod, and if we go through the center of the bearing, you see down here, this pivot point comes down here in front of where the tire contacts the pavement. This difference in here is what they call trail. You want your pivot point in front of where the tire contacts the road. Now, why is that important? That is kind of like a shopping cart wheel caster, where the pivot point is in front of where the tire contacts. And we all know that will go straight down the road like that. If you're pushing a shopping cart backward, what happens? It's going to want to spin around. Having that theoretical angle through the neck, having that pivot point in front of where the tire contacts, allows the bike to go straight down the road. That's why you can let go of the handlebars and it'll still track straight, is because the pivot point is in front of where it contacts. Ideally on a stock bike, like on a Harley like this, 4 to 6 inches. That's what we're looking for. Now what happens is, when you rake them out with rake trees, you're not changing the pivot point, but you're changing where the tire contacts the road. So let's just see where we're at here on this. So let's do this. We're going to go vertical here, and this is not precise, but it'll get you an idea. So here's where the tire contacts the road. Let's put our rod back up here and draw the imaginary straight line through the middle of the bearing. This is the pivot point of the front end. That's the center line of our bearings. Here's where our tire contacts the road. We have roughly 5 inches. That makes for a good trail number. That makes the thing handle well, going down the road, tracks nicely. So let's put it, let me back up here for a second. Let me show you what a rake tree is. So here's a triple tree that I have laying around. This one is actually 5 degrees, which means if we put a fork tube in here, this is 5 degrees further out than this angle. They are not parallel. These are pretty much parallel. And on a rake tree, there's a 5 degree difference. So we're going to put this triple tree on in place of this one, and we're going to see what happens. So let's do that. All right, just a quick mock-up. We took the stock triple tree off. We put on the 5 degree tree. Doesn't do much, pushes it out just a little bit. But what you kind of notice is it has also lowered the bike. Since the forks are out at more of an angle, that brings the bike down. If we do a quick check, now we're down to 32 degrees. 37, so we have 5 degrees different angle. This angle has decreased because the bike has lowered. We were going 3 degrees uphill. Now we're going 1.5 degrees uphill. So simply putting on rake trees affects the geometry of the whole bike. These are no longer parallel with the pivot point. And look what it has done to our trail. If we put our rod in here and line it up with the bearings, our pivot point has moved backward now because the frame went downward. The front end went outward, so our center line of the tire went forward. So we went from 5 inches of trail to 2.5 inches of trail. That makes it a little more squirrely on the road. If I'd have put a 7 degree triple tree on here, that would have pushed it even farther forward and we'd have lost even more trail. If you get to 0 trail, if you get to the point where the pivot point matches the contact point, that's 0, that gets pretty squirrely. If you go to negative trail, then the tire is actively fighting to spin around on you. So this is why I say you need to be careful just putting a rake triple tree on a stock neck in order to create a chopper. You need to check this out. Now, if I use the same tubes. If I wanted to put 2-inch longer tubes, well then that would raise the bike back up. It would push the front end out a little more, and it would give me more rake. Same way if you lower the butt end. If you change the way the bike sits and you tilt it back, you can get more trail. If you lower it down, you get less trail. Raked triple trees were not made to make a chopper out of a stock neck. Raked triple trees were made for chop bikes such as this one over here. This is a 7-degree tree. Between this angle and this angle, there's a 7-degree difference. And why would we want that? Why not just put, this is 50 degrees, why not just put the whole 50 degrees in the neck? Well, if you draw your imaginary line, that would put my imaginary line 2 feet or better out in the front. The pivot point would be way in front. That creates what, we call the flop, where you let go and it just wants to flop over. The rake triple tree brings the pivot point down and back to bring that trail closer to where it used to be. It eliminates some of the flop. It creates a little bit better handling when you make extreme long choppers like this. That's what rake triple trees were designed for. You can use them on a stock neck, but if you do, this is what you need to look for and be careful of, that you don't get into a point where you lose all your trail measurement or get into a point where you have negative trail and make the bike dangerous. So just wanted to clear a few things up, give you a little practical knowledge on it. There is plenty more online you can check out, and please do so. Get all the knowledge you can, but I hope this was a little informative for you. Stay tuned, because we're going to take that same bike, we're going to go ahead and eventually strip it down. We're going to cut it, chop it, rake it, so that ought to be interesting. But hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, just click that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.